right, making his Christmas clatter debut is the man from the South, from Georgia, actually, Santa Dad. He has joined us. He is a blogger, he is a journalist, but more importantly, he is a dad. He is a dad that loves Christmas. And if you haven't checked out any of his work, follow him on social medias at Santa Dad, santadad.com. His name is Randy. And I wanted to make sure we call him by his name because I wasn't sure. I wanted to keep the gimmick alive if this was, if this was a work. So, and for all those wrestling fans out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But Randy, thanks so much for joining me here at Christmas Clatter.
Man, I'm so happy to be here.
Uh,
I'm just I'm having such a good time with it all right now, and when you reached out, I couldn't wait to get here.
oh yeah, oh yeah. It was great. I've seen you on the social medias and looked through your website and stuff, and then you had an Instagram post the other day, and it just kind of like, man, I need to get that guy on the show here and get you more involved with my podcast because I'm going to tell you this with 100% honesty, Randy. If I would have thought of Santa Dad back in May of 2019, you'd been on the Santa Dad podcast instead of the Christmas Clatter podcast because that is a really cool, really great name. So
I'm all about transparency, and I can tell you that I was sitting here in December, and maybe we can get into all this a little bit later. But this past December, I was sitting here, and I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, I'm just going to look something up real quick. And sure enough, took a quick little spin around the interwebs. I said, I cannot believe that somebody hasn't done this yet.
yeah.
I'm going to do this right now. I mean, the fact that the name was available was
Uh-huh.
probably like 50% of me jumping in to the pool with this
Yes.
whole thing. Because I've been writing and doing all kinds of stuff in a bunch of different places, very scattered.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, well, if I can get a cool name. And then I looked, and sure enough, there it is. And so here we are.
Yep, that's fantastic. Well, it was meant for you to have. I love the logo and the look. I love your blog. Let everybody know. Just kind of take us back. Like you said, you had the idea. You looked it up. I know exactly what you're talking about. I have probably 3 or 4 URLs that I bought because I had an idea, and it's like I better snag that right now if it's available. And it's like $12 a year, so it's not real expensive to keep a hold of. And then if it fades out, just let it go, and you've wasted $12, but it's not that hard to waste $12 on sillier stuff. But so
Oh,
take us back to that initial thought. You said you had the idea. What spurred that along? Because every great idea has a little bit of seed of plant that gets planted.
well, it's the kind of thing. I don't know how far back we want to go, right? Because I don't think any of us do this kind of stuff unless we just genuinely love the content, right?
Right.
We love the stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I have two children. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, 3.5. And I don't know, man. We just always been a huge, I've tried to. I think that in every family there has to be somebody who sort of takes the reins and makes special happen. If you
Right.
know what I mean.
Uh-huh.
So in our family, that sort of turned out to be me, which isn't hard because by nature I'm a creative, whether I'm writing or taking pictures or working with video or whatever. That's
Uh-huh.
just who I am. So we had the girls, and I'm taking pictures of them all the time. We're doing all this stuff at Christmas. I'm generating craft ideas and photo ops and just all this stuff. And of course, 2020 happened.
Right.
And in 2019, and right now is the primary post on the blog, which is the one about the time capsule wreath.
Hmm. Right.
I had that idea in 2019. And then 2020 happened, and I'm like, wow, let's put it through that prism. What does that do to all this other stuff?
Right.
And so I really started putting thought into the time capsule wreath. And when I was doing that, that led me toward I'm doing all this other stuff too. This all seems pretty cool. I think it's cool. Maybe somebody else who is into this sort of stuff would think it's cool.
Hmm.
And so I had the idea to put it in one place.
Right.
And then it was, is that a blog? Is it a YouTube channel? Is it a whatever? And I started thinking about names, and just went down that rabbit hole. And essentially, the nugget of it all was 2020 was just such a year that for me and my family, we were in a good place. We did not suffer the way a lot of people did.
Right.
Um, and I'm extremely fortunate for that. And we are very thankful. And as I thought about it, how could I broach the topic and be sensitive to that reality?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought 2020 is such a year that if I can bring all these things together and maybe add to someone else's enjoyment of this season that we all enjoy so much,
Right.
maybe help them see things a different way, or just give them ideas, or just make them smile, then it's worth it. Because I knew I was going to have all this stuff happening anyway. So why not take it, push it out there, and just see if anybody's receptive to it?
Yeah.
Um, so I certainly had a lot of fun with it. I don't know how much of an argument I can make for how receptive people are to it yet. I'm so thankful that you wanted to talk to me about it, because I told you in our messages that this is my favorite part of all this. Like,
Uh-huh.
I love to talk about all these things. I've hosted a podcast before on a different topic, but it's just I really enjoy it. So
Oh,
I'm happy to be here, and I'm really I feel good about what we've done with the blog and everything so far, and
right.
I've got a lot of ideas for this year, and just to see how it evolves. I really I'm very excited to kind of see what happens with it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of fun. There's this, I don't know. I want to say the words that came to me was like Christmas content community kind of thing, but it seems so pretentious. It's like we're just a couple of guys that enjoy Christmas. It's not like we're trailblazers, but it's just such a great community, and to be a part of, and like you said, you don't do Christmas because it's a money. I mean, Christmas money making venture for like retail stores, but for people putting out Christmas content, and it's really not. So you have to do it because you love it, and you really can't do a podcast or a blog unless you really love the subject, because you will tire in a hurry. And because I've been through that. I'll get real fired up about a subject, and I'm like, I need to start a podcast on this subject. About 2 weeks in, I'm like, I'm really tired of talking about this already, and good thing I didn't do that. But you talked about your love of Christmas went way back. Take us way back. How was Christmases? I know you're located in Georgia now. Sound like you've been in Georgia for quite some time.
Oh yes, sir.
So, and
Is, is it that obvious? I work in Atlanta primarily. Well, now I work at this desk, right? But
right,
when I was going into the office, I work in Atlanta, and I'm around a lot of people from all around the world.
yeah,
And I'm like, whatever, because I originally grew up in the foothills of North Georgia, so
right,
real deal Appalachia. But
uh-huh,
I'm like, my whatever my voice tells you is
uh,
faded. Like it's blended out, it's faded. So this is more of maybe a curated voice.
uh-huh.
I'm not, but
It's your city voice.
yeah, exactly. I get back home and it doesn't take long, and I'm like, y'all,
I
so.
hear you. I hear
Um,
you.
but we currently live in Bethlehem, Georgia. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that's a whole lot of fun, because
Oh
every
yeah.
season, our little post office. I mean, our town is small. It's currently exploding. But when we moved out here 20 years ago, it was just pastures and cows and us.
Uh-huh.
But they had a little post office, and man, when Christmas time hits, when Thanksgiving gets here, that place is flooded every day. I mean, people drive from all around the southeast to
Mhm.
come to Bethlehem and stamp their Christmas cards with the Bethlehem Christmas stamp.
Oh
Yeah, big
yeah.
stamp. So that makes that part a little fun, just
Uh-huh.
local. It's literally like 5 minutes over the hill.
Oh yeah.
Growing up, I grew up in the foothills of the Appalachians, and um, the one thing that I can say is that I was just always surrounded by a loving family,
Yeah.
just all the way around. Um, when we grew up, if if I'm shooting you straight, we didn't have a lot to, we weren't it was nothing extravagant.
Right.
But your standard fare family Christmases, and my mom and dad and Santa and Mrs. Claus, they did the best they could.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you, I have one formative memory from it. I mean, I have the memories from when I was little, and those are just a blur of happy, right?
Yeah.
Just a blur of joy. But when I was maybe 12 or 13, um, my family as a whole had it was just a rough year.
Mhm.
And like with my grandparents and everything else, we had just had a rough year.
Mhm.
And when Christmas time rolled around, there wasn't a lot. We all knew, that things weren't going to be maybe as big as they'd been in the past, just because of everything we had going on.
Mhm.
And I just remember this one special gift. I think it was in my stocking. But my mom, she knew that I wanted to write and wanted to go to school and study journalism. And the one thing she bought me was a little pen. It was a little. It had like a wooden casing on it, and it was a twist top, and you push the pen out and you write with it. And that pen, to this day, I have no idea what that pen cost her.
Yeah.
I'm certain it wasn't a $60-$70 pen.
Right.
Um, but I knew, just because of everything and how much we had talked about it, I
Yeah.
knew that she had made a pointed effort to try to get a special gift, a meaningful gift.
Mhm.
And to this day, I have that pen in my desk here
Oh, wow.
beside me.
Yeah.
Um, so she hit a home run with that. And to
Yeah.
me, that is the embodiment of what all of this is.
Yeah.
It's, a person, and you want to do something special for them, and it's that thought and that gesture that really drove home for me what Christmas was. So um I don't know, if I had a motivating memory, that's probably it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing, with Christmas, the things, the gifts that are given that really stick with you for your life are never the ones that, as a kid, that you think, you would be the most excited about. It's always that those little things like that just really touching it. And sounds like you were, writing at a young age, which is very cool to hear. And I,
It's funny.
yeah.
My People are like, what do you want to be when you grow up, and all that sort of stuff. And from the time I was 8, I was watching Monday Night Football with my dad.
Uh-huh.
And um I looked at my parents and I was like, see, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That, I don't know what, but I know I want to do. Like, I thought it was so cool that this live football game was being broadcast into our homes on a Monday night, right?
Right.
Like, I want to go do that. And so fast forward 12 or 14 years, something
Mhm.
like that. And I walked right out of the University of Georgia after I graduated, and walked into the doors of what was at the time CNN Sports Illustrated.
Uh-huh.
And I started my career in journalism as a sports journalist. And that's what I still do today, along with a bunch of other stuff. I mean,
Right.
as I've gotten older, I've figured out that, again, I identified that I'm just a creative, and it comes out in different ways. And
Uh-huh.
um, I've been fortunate enough to have 2 or 3 books published, and
Oh,
short
nice.
stories, and write on the blog, and shoot. I have 2 children who I love to take photos of, and
Uh-huh.
so, yeah, I have an opportunity to express it in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
The Christmas wreaths, right?
Yep.
Making those wreaths, that's a
Yep.
creative thing. And so I just enjoy creating. And
Right.
right now, this is making me very happy.
Yeah. I've noticed that. My wife is very creative as far as like art and crafts. She can grab a brush and paint and make anything come to life.
Wow.
She is so talented. In fact, when we moved in our house, uh, there was like no backsplash up on the kitchen, and she's like, "Man, I'd really like to, have tile up there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I would too, but at the time we just couldn't afford it."
Yeah.
So she's like, "Ah, I know we can't afford it." I come home from work one day, and she has it painted and taped. She painted tile on our backsplash, and
Oh,
it's still there today. And if no one told you it was painted, you would think it was tile with grout. And it's so cool. And she does art, like craft fairs and stuff, and her things just fly because they're so good. But I've noticed that too. She's just kind of the creative. She'll kind of migrate from the paint to, right now she's doing this thing called junk journaling, where she takes old papers and stuff and puts them into and makes little journals that you can write little notes in and stuff. And then she'll move from that to sewing things, and then she'll move from that to some other kind of creative endeavor, back to so just kind of this rotating carousel of different things she's into. And and I've kind of hit that. I think she inspired me because when we were first married, it was like I, I played bass, and for church and then bands and stuff here and there, and that was cool. But then that was really all I did. And then I kind of got inspired to do the podcast, and now the podcast that rolled into creating a website and trying to blog and trying to do a newsletter and trying to do a YouTube channel. So it's kind of the same thing but different formats. But so I can see how that can take off and different things. And I'm gonna put you on the spot right now. You talked about fiction books. Any chance we'll get like a book series called like Adventures of Santa Dad or anything like that?
it's all about time, right?
Yeah.
So can you figure it out? But uh, I have a couple of different takes on it,
Yeah.
actually. I would love to do a directly themed book like that. I think that would
Uh-huh.
be awesome. I don't know. I have a couple of very vague ideas about that right
Yeah.
now, but I don't have a solidified idea.
Yeah.
But the other big thing that I believe it or not, the thing that I really enjoy is things that are like post-apocalyptic. So can you imagine two polar opposite interests?
Yeah.
Uh, but I really do. And so the novel that I'm currently writing is one that is about that sort of scenario. It's not after the event, it is the triggering event and then the immediate afterwards. But one of the things I always wanted to do was take one of those stories
Uh-huh.
and set it in Christmas or around Christmas.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I'm absolutely not trying to rip off like Die Hard or any of those
Right,
movies,
right, right.
but it's just, I don't know. It's just something about the imagery of it, because it's
Uh-huh.
something that I love so much, and it's so bright and it's so happy. And then to be able to take that and twist it and make it, dark and
Mm-hmm.
not scary, but like rivet you with it, see the things that you love and see them be
Yeah.
taken away. I don't know. To me, that's very visceral,
Uh-huh.
and that's why that idea drives me. So
Yeah.
hopefully I can come up with a happy and a dark, and
Yeah.
make it work. That would
Yeah.
make me happy.
Yeah. That's a great idea. You was sitting there talking, I was thinking, man, if we lived closer together, we'd be at each other's house every weekend barbecuing or something. Because I'm all on board on that.
Yeah, well, I've got, you mentioned earlier having 3 or 4 different URLs. So do I. I've got, and they're all active
Yeah.
currently. So
Do,
if
do
you
you,
get bored at Santa Dad, you can bounce over and check out my writing stuff, or whatever it is that you're interested in.
yeah. So do you have a note with all your brainstorming ideas on your phone or something?
Oh yeah.
Me
Oh,
too. I
the
got a
note
whole bunch of them.
the note app is overflowing, like it's virtual paper everywhere.
I do
There's
too.
there's bookmarks all over the Big Mac here. I've got like notepads everywhere. And people are like, how do you keep them all straight? Or they'll say something generic like, what's on your mind? Or what did you do? Or what? I'm like, there are a billion things on my mind all the time. Like
Yeah.
they're spinning around. And
Yeah.
I'm like, which one makes the most sense right now? And
Mhm.
which category does it fall into?
Yeah.
So it's it's a whole lot of fun. And then the next question is, well, how did you know you wanted to write, or how did you know you wanted to write a book, not
Right.
or write a novel, not a blog, or
Right.
whatever. And I'm like, well, eventually all the voices in my head wouldn't shut up, and so I had to write it down. They
Yeah.
just wouldn't be quiet. So that's when I knew I had to try to write, you know.
Yeah. 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 I have the same kind of notes, just full of ideas, and every once in a while I'll just kind of scroll through them and be like, I don't even know what I was thinking then. That the note wasn't detailed enough, so it must have you
Oh
one
man, my
uh,
wife, bless her heart, she just looks. She's like, "What are you working on now?"
yeah,
And she never knows. That's a loaded question.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah,
or when I just spin in the chair and I'm like, okay, I need you to listen to something.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah,
And she's like, oh boy, okay. So
yeah.
here we
I hear you. I'm in the same boat, but it is so much fun to do it. So being the Santa Dad with the blog, I got to tell you, the Christmas coal recipe
go.
is one we will be trying. And there's a few great recipes on there. So anybody,
There's more coming, I
yeah,
promise.
SantaDad.com for anybody that didn't hear it the first time. It'd also be in the show notes and the description, so you just be a click away. But yeah, that Christmas coal, I was reading that off to my wife earlier this evening as I sit as I was sitting down at the snack bar in our kitchen watching her cook supper.
Mhm,
So,
mhm. I
and
tell you, the other really popular one is Mary's Fruitcakes. Mary is my mother-in-law,
okay,
and there are a couple of different recipes that are, they just get passed down and handed around.
yep,
And Mary's fruitcake cookies are
yeah,
definitely her contribution.
yeah,
And it's funny. It's so funny because she's not a person who would want to do what we're doing right now.
right,
But when I told her, I'm like, Mary, I'm going to share your
hmm,
stuff.
yeah,
And she was like, I thought she was going to be like withheld about it
yeah.
and be like, "Oh, don't do that." No, no, no. I was like, "Mary, I'm gonna share your stuff on my blog," and I was like, "Should I just call it fruitcake cookies or whatever?" And she's like, "No, call it Mary's fruitcake cookies." I was like, "I hear you, Mary. I see you. I see what
There
you
you
do."
go.
So,
Yeah.
and this year, something to look forward to is Tommy. That's her husband, my father.
Uh-huh.
We're gonna have a recipe from Tommy that's gonna make an appearance on there, and there's all kinds of stuff that we are that we're cooking up. I mean, it's so weird because it's like 100 degrees,
Uh-huh.
and I live down here in the South. It's humid as a shower, and
Uh-huh. I hear you.
we're just like I'm sitting here thinking about Christmas and what I'm gonna cook and uh,
Uh-huh.
what we're gonna create. It's so weird, and that's the other fun part too is we just live life with the girls. And so, like the time capsule wreath,
Uh-huh.
that concept, it's constantly evolving throughout the year,
Right.
especially when you have young children,
Yeah.
because what matters the first quarter of the year may be forgotten by the third quarter of the year.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what's going to survive through to the wreath,
Mhm.
uh, it's an interesting thing to see how it goes.
Yeah. It's really cool because yeah, I completely agree. I have, 4 kids myself. They're a little older, but it's like them little ones, you can't start shopping real early for them because time Christmas rolls around, they'll be uh they'll be on to something different. But yeah, you just kind of have to see what happens
Yeah.
with those kids. But it is cool to keep track of it. That kind of thing of remembering the year and being keeping a remembrance written down of different things. That goes way 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 back in history. And there's just something I don't the words escape me right now, but there's something that keeps your mind and your heart at peace when you keep a good memory of the things that went on, and and like I said, that's went back for thousands of years. People, that's why we have history books that are sold. It's just there's something about keeping those memories, and because um I like to woodwork. I like doing woodworking and making furniture, and I was watching I can't even remember what show it was on. It's like one of them Roku channels that's just kind of got some off Broadway kind of stuff. And one was like on, like geniuses that are craftsmen,
Oh yeah.
that kind of thing. And this guy, he went to West Virginia somewhere, and it's this man who makes wooden furniture, but he makes all his own tools still, and all this stuff. And he's just, he's exactly what you would think of if you thought of someone that lived in the hills of West Virginia.
Yeah.
And he said the most profound thing, he says, he says, when when you die, they say you can't take it with you, but he says that's not true because you can take your knowledge and your experience with you if you don't share it. And that's the same way with about memories and remembering things. It's like if you don't help your family remember, you know, when they were kids, then it's gone. It does disappear. So there's just something that's super cool about those memory reefs that you do that I just fell in love with.
Well, I appreciate that,
Yeah.
and so far, everybody, when I tell them what it is, they all have the same response,
Yeah.
and that is, "Oh, what a cool idea."
Hmm.
And I understand that, maybe it's not everybody's thing or whatever, but it doesn't have to be elaborate.
Right.
Um, I mean, goodness, mine are, but because
Yeah.
that's just the way I am,
Right.
right? But like the idea after we made the first one, I had such a good time making it with my
Yeah.
daughter. And that's the other point is that I don't make them like just take the project over and make them.
Right.
Uh, I talk to the girls about it. We have meetings. I'm like, what do you think's going to make the wreath this year?
Yeah.
And so they help me decide. And then when it comes time to make it, every part that's safe enough for them to do, I let them help me craft
Right.
the thing.
Yeah.
And when we hung the first one on the wall from 2019, I looked at Alice and that's my wife, sorry. And
Terrifying.
I said, we just let yourself imagine if we do this, they are, really young. So
Uh-huh.
if we do this for the next 10 years, 15 years, let's just
Hmm.
say until the oldest one's through high school, if we do that, we hang those every season. We imagine how beautiful that's going to be. We can
Oh
just
yeah.
walk into our room and look, and every one of those wreaths is going to tell us a story about
Yeah.
that point in our life and what it means. And we're going to know exactly what that was. We'll be taken right back.
Yeah.
And I'm a big old softy.
Yeah.
Just I'm an emotional dude, and I have a whole lot of like Martha Stewart in me, so I don't mind trying new stuff. Um, so it's to me again, it was just it seemed to make so much sense,
Yeah.
and you know I just I don't know when I wrote the blog, I wasn't sure if I was writing it to tell other people how to do it
Yeah.
or if I was writing it to just share just a wonderful family memory.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I don't think it matters. I
Hmm.
think if you just want to read about it, I think that's cool. If you want to try to do it, I think that's even better.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter. Figure out what it is that you can do, right?
Yeah.
The other little thing that I didn't know about until, and this is on the blog, and if you look on social, you'll see pictures of it and stuff, is a dedicated Christmas book
Hmm.
that you can order. It's a hardback Christmas volume, and it's just they've set it up so that you can go through and fill out, who was there for Christmas dinner,
Yeah.
who came to visit during the season, special gifts, that sort of stuff. Your
Yeah.
favorite Christmas card, whatever it was, and then you just create that scrapbook of sorts, but it's already put together in a very elegant
Yep.
casing. It's just so cool, and I'm with you. I'm a history guy. I love it,
Yeah.
and that's my little contribution for our family.
Oh yeah. It is cool. You was talking about the every year thing. That kind of remind me of something. It's similar. It's different, but it's similar. It's something I started 10 or 12 years ago. Well, no, I guess about 10 years ago now. With my wife. I went and bought just kind of a nothing fancy, but a little nicer, like 5x7 notebook, plain notebook, nothing written in it. And like I said, we had 4 kids. So I started off, and before Mother's Day, I had each kid write one note to my wife on a page, dated it. And the youngest one couldn't write, so I just gave her a pen and she just did circles or whatever she did, you know, and then gave that to her so she looked through. Well, now we got 10 years worth of the kids aging, and you could see how their notes changed and how their handwriting's changed, and the different little things they say and the misspellings and all that. And it's turned into something super cool, to keep a hold of. And she started the same thing for Father's Day for me. But it's kind of the same thing about logging the history of the kids in the family, through Christmas trees, and that's the same kind of thing. And the other thing that I was thinking of is, even if you don't find yourself like super crafty, get a wreath, get some of them little clothespins, and just get some pictures hung. Google Photos and Amazon will take the pictures off your phone, print them out in a nice quality picture, and send them to you for super cheap.
Hmm.
And just get some pictures, clip them up there, put a little ribbon or something on it, and it's just as nice. And like you said, you don't have to go crazy, because the more you talk, the more I think I'm talking to myself, because when you do something, it's going to be to 11, and can't do anything any different. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's just if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. Try to do it right.
Yep.
I'm with you though. Just the effort is
Yeah.
worth more. I love the idea. I mean, I was thinking when you were telling me about your idea there,
Uh-huh.
I love that idea, and I was thinking about all the ways that maybe I do that already,
Uh-huh.
uh, because but in a different way.
Yep.
Uh, we're all very visual, so I mean, obviously that's me. I'm a visual journalist, right? I
Right.
do a lot of video stuff, and so we have like Wonderwall. So for us, it's the kids' arts.
Yeah.
So what we'll do is, maybe if we can't keep it, I'll take a nice photo, and then I'll take that photo and have that printed out onto like a canvas. If I catch a canvas sale
Yep.
going on one of the online photo
Yep.
shops,
Yep.
and then, so like this year for Christmas, and it will absolutely make an appearance all over my stuff.
Hmm.
I will be sharing some of my daughter's drawings from
Oh,
her year in kindergarten that she did for Christmas, because
oh
I
yeah.
had put onto little canvases,
Right.
so they'll go up every year, and then they'll come back down. But it's a nice snapshot of who she was and what she was doing at that time at Christmas.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it's cool. I figured if I was in, I was dragging them with me.
Yep.
So the girls they're all about it. They have their own little Christmas trees in their rooms, and
Uh-huh.
it's just a family affair.
Oh
All
yeah.
Every year, all we hope for is just some colder weather.
Yeah.
And we don't even have to get precipitation. Just get cold.
Get cold. Yep.
If it gets
Yeah.
cold, we call it a win.
Yeah. I hear you have more of a problem with that than I do. I'm my Christmases are a roll of the dice. They could be cold or they could be hot. It's just an absolute roll of the dice.
Mm,
But it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's this keeping the kids' art's cool. My oldest daughter, she took after her mom. She's an excellent artist too, and she's made some stuff that's like people's offered to buy, and it's super cool and to keep. And my youngest daughter's kind of taken after that too. And she's just 8, and she'll turn 9 later this year, and her drawing's a little bit more advanced than where it should be. So we're real well, her mom's like keeps pushing her along and nudging her along and that and stuff. And it's cool. And I joke around, of course, how dads are proud of all their kids. I tell everybody, I said, my youngest one, and she's gonna rule the world one day, because um she like got awards in art and she got awards in math. And I'm like, those two things don't go together. So I said, if you keep it up, you're going to rule the world one of these days.
yep.
So
Yep. I understand that completely. Because I don't say I'm a creative for no reason. I mean, I'm good enough at the math, but I don't. The way I like to say is I don't enjoy it.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm like, Alice, whatever, make it make sense, and let me do the fun stuff.
yeah. I hear you. I'm from a long line of engineers and mechanics. So my senior year of high school, I took 4 math classes, so I'd have an easy year. So
Mm.
so that's what I did.
Yep. Hey, it takes all kinds to make the world go round. Man, let me tell you, one of the funniest things that ever happened was my brother and I. There's only 2.5 years difference between us.
Uh-huh.
We just got back from vacation last week, and the week before that, we had visited with them on the way out, and
Mhm.
then we visited with them on the way back. Uh,
Uh,
so the cousins could play,
right.
and we wound up in his office, and we're kicking around ideas, and we're talking about Santa Dad, and we're talking about his stuff, and just all this kind of stuff. And his thing is he's a marketing guy,
Right.
and he got that from my father. I swear you, they could sell you a sack of taters. Sell you a sack of rocks and call it taters or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
That's who he is, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we were talking about all this stuff, and I'm like, my wife was in the office with us, and she just started laughing because we were going back and forth. He's like, "Why don't you do that?" And I'm like, "Because I can't." And he's like, "Yes, you can." I'm like, "I know I can, but it doesn't. It doesn't make my. I have the capability,
Yep.
but I can't make myself go do it. There's a
Yep.
difference there." And I'm like, "Don't you see right brain, left brain, or
Yep.
whatever's going on here?" And it's so crazy because he's got his set of skills and gifts, and he's really good at them, and I
Uh-huh.
am too with what I have.
Yep.
But for my wife to sit there and see the two brothers that are so close in age be saying the same thing but looking at it from the
Yep.
opposite side was just she just cackled, she just
Oh
rolled.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
you
It
know,
is.
you just don't know, and that's the fun part about it. You just don't know
Yeah.
how it's gonna shake out.
Yeah. Yeah. You just kind of got to lean into what your strengths are, and I want to ask you this. He's talking about your brother and Christmas. Where do you think your love for Christmas came from? Do you think it came from your mom or your dad or both? Or
Um, I don't know. Hmm, that's an interesting question because it's I think my love of Christmas was born out of my parents' love uh, of trying to do what they could for us,
oh yeah, I
if
get
that
that.
makes sense.
That
So
makes perfect sense. Yes.
yeah, it's the gesture. Because again, our like when I was growing up, our Christmases were um, Christmas at home, generally speaking,
Mhm.
and then in the afternoon or maybe the day after or Christmas Eve, the my mom had like a bunch of brothers and sisters, and my dad uh, didn't have family that was close.
Right.
So whenever we were growing up, my mom's the cousins, they would all come around. So we would go to somebody's house or whatever. There was always food involved,
Hmm.
always lots of it here in the South, and we had the family meeting that way. But when it came to the nuclear family, we always stayed at home and kept things close. And we I don't know, my folks were working a lot, so it wasn't like we got to go do a whole lot of Christmas activities and things like that.
Hmm.
But those times that we got to spend um, with family were pointed because of that, if that
Right.
makes sense. Like
Yep.
the event was going to my aunt's place because everybody was going to be there.
Hmm.
Um, and so that was fun to be had, food to be eaten, and then you get Christmas Day and everything that comes with that. Um, and as an adult, I'm a firm believer that Christmas Eve is greater than Christmas Day.
It absolutely is.
Uh,
100%.
and then now Christmas morning is a very close rival because I do have littles, uh, but in general,
Yep.
just the majesty and the magic, if you allow yourself to be in that frame of mind leading up to Christmas Eve and getting ready for
Yep.
everything is better. And so it was just a general love and support from my family,
Hmm.
and that's what I associate with Christmas. Full stop.
Yeah.
Period. That can manifest however. but that's where it came from.
Yeah, yeah, that anticipation of Christmas is, to me, so much more fun than I don't not to say Christmas Day isn't fun, but the anticipation of Christmas is so much fun, especially Christmas Eve, and especially, like, from, like, 6 o'clock or 8 o'clock past on Christmas Eve is really such a magical time, and just feels like there's so much magic in the air no matter where you go. It's just I can melt right now in my chair just thinking about it, you know?
Well,
It's
I listen, I might get
yeah,
some guff. I might get some guff for what I'm about to say. Um, but that's okay because I am Santa Dad, so this
yep,
will make sense. But people are like, when did you stop believing? I'm like, yeah, see, I didn't. And they're like, you believe Santa's real? Yes, I do. And I don't mean the man, right? I don't mean
right.
having a home invasion on Christmas Eve. That's not what I mean.
Mhm.
What I mean is, if you think about everything that the man is and supposed to be,
Mhm.
any of us, me, you, hopefully my children,
Mhm.
as they grow, they carry that with them forward. That idea of wanting to do something for someone else,
Right.
not because you want something, but because you just want to do that.
Mhm.
That makes it, if that's not real, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
That to me is why Santa Claus is very real. And again, we've kind of talked about my childhood and stuff. And my brother and I are both, like I said, just extremely fortunate
Mhm.
in the way our lives have played out. And we are in a position where occasionally, we can do things to help people. So when we get into the fall season, that's just a thing that we like to do, whether
Yep.
it's giving our time or giving. Uh, my brother, for example, he likes to find a family in his community through he has tentacles all through the community, and he likes to just on he doesn't want anybody to know, he doesn't
Right.
maybe the parents, and he wants to go just help that family.
Right.
um, and then on Christmas Eve, he and his sons make a delivery, and he shows his sons, look, we're just doing this because we just want to. That's
Yep.
it. That's the end of it.
Yep.
They didn't ask, there's nothing like that. I just knew that somebody was in need and I wanted to help.
Yep.
And when I see that in him, obviously I'm exceedingly proud.
Yep.
And it makes me want to be a better man too,
Right.
So that's what it is. I think that is why Santa Claus is real, and that's why I'm just so fired up about it as a
Yep.
45-year-old male.
Yep.
Right?
I I
It
I
keeps
hear
me
you, man.
motivated.
Yeah. Well, we did this thing with our kids. Had it done it since he was a little bit older, but we take them to when Toys are us was still open, or Walmart or wherever, and we'd be like, all right, pick out a toy you really really like, you know, and they knew what was going on, so they'd pick out something they'd like, and a couple times they would just grab whatever just to be done, because they weren't shopping for themselves. They knew it. And it's like,
Mhm.
no, grab one you really like. I know you don't really like that, know, and uh, and then we just drop it in the Toys for Tots on our way out, of the store, and and then we would do things locally, and the one that really got them was when we helped, like, a family through our church. The whole church kind of pitched in to do it, and helped a family that uh, my kids knew because they went to school together, and it's like that really was like eye opening for them. And that's part of the reason I started my last episode was uh, Christmas Clatter
Christmas card
Cares.
cares.
Did you hear that? Okay, I don't know what that was. I was sorry. I'll have to cut this part out. But
Okay.
I started hearing my voice again, and or not again, but first time. So, but no, let me start over, and I'll have to cut that part out. Magic of editing. But that's why we started. I started the Christmas Clatter Cares, is to highlight some charities throughout the year. I'm gonna try to do about once a quarter. Just have someone from a charity come on and talk about it. And if it's something that a listener or two connects with, and that's a listener or two that connected with it that wasn't connected before, and hopefully people everybody will find something that really moves them. And like we talked about as far as like uh you know starting podcasts and things and blogs that are something that moves you. It's the same thing with the charity. Yeah, I can throw money at a charity without thinking about it, but if I find a charity that really connects with me in a special way or really hits home, then I'm all in. And then the money turns into time, which is more valuable, and then it turns into time and money, so uh which is really cool. And that's just, like you said, it's all part of the Christmas giving spirit, and part of being Santa Claus.
You know, I who knows anything, okay?
Yeah,
But if I think I know anything, I think I know that uh, if we're not here to help somebody, then I'm not sure why we are here. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and that takes a bunch of different forms.
Uh-huh.
Doesn't always require money or
Right.
anything like that. But if you can do something to help somebody else, and I applaud you
Hmm.
for starting that initiative. That's
Yeah.
outstanding. I will probably crib that and tweak it and
Oh, go ahead, man.
find some fun way to do something
Uh-huh.
here. And I'm immediately thinking of my brother, because again, in his community, he is someone who has just because of his history, he worked with first responders for a while. He's
Right.
done Red Cross work, so he's the kind of person who has been there at the very worst moment
Yeah.
for people.
Right.
uh, and so he knows very much what that is. And you put that with our history, just living life and our personal history, and you have a pretty good motivation to then just say, you know what, I think this is something I want to do. And I thankfully,
Yep.
he has a skill for it. I try really hard to be that good at it, like
Hmm.
um oftentimes though, I'm just in awe, and I'm thankful that I'm related to the guy. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
he helps me be better,
Yeah.
and so I'm surely there's some way that we can
Yeah.
pull this together and do something.
What I tell people a lot of times is that sometimes it's just like a smiling face and about 3 minutes to listen. I don't know if my listeners know I'm a letter carrier by trade for the Postal Service, and I had a mail route years and years ago, and I had one street. I walked down one side and got to the end. I'd cross over and come back to where my truck was parked on the corner. And there was this old lady that lived on the second side I did, and she would see me walking up the other side, and she would get out on the porch to wait for me every day. And at first it's like, man, I kind of, I'm thinking I never said anything to her, like this, but in my head, it's like, I really need to hurry. I'm running behind, or I need to get off work, or and other things. But I would just just smile and listen for a few minutes and stuff, and and talk to her, chit chat. And then one day she was talking to me, and she started to like tear up. And she lived by herself, and she just kind of grabbed my elbow, and she says, sometimes you're the only person I talk to during the day. And I'm like, I just melted. So I was like, from then on, every day she'd step out, and I'd make sure I had time to smile and to listen and to talk. And now on my mail route, I'm in carrying a whole different city. I have a I call him a boy, but he's not. He's in his early 30s, but he's got Down syndrome, and he meets me every day outside on the porch. And so it's like I just take a few minutes to smile and listen and chat, and maybe tell a stupid dad joke or something to him. And it's like sometimes that's just all people need is a friendly face and a friendly smile, and just someone that truly listens when they're talking. and that's kind of to me, that's kind of, that's also included with the spirit of Christmas, and people like yourself and your brother and your family are really, doing the Lord's work and keeping that kind of thing alive. And it makes me glad that you're part of this Christmas community with us. So
I was just gonna say, I think it was Kismet that I was supposed to be on your show. This is we're making friends. This is good stuff.
yeah, yeah,
I because it's like you said, it's I don't know, it's such a niche kind of thing. I mean,
yep,
eh, but at the same time, it's global,
yep,
right?
yep,
But it just takes a bunch of different forms,
yeah,
and just to know that there are other people out there who are working at it and
yep,
trying to do a good thing, and
yep,
you know why, and I mean, all of that is good, and it,
yeah,
like you said, when it gets uh, not tiring, because clearly I could do this all the time.
yeah.
I
Oh
just,
yeah, yeah,
but when it just gets like, man, do I have time? Right?
yeah,
Sometimes it's more difficult to make time,
yeah,
and it just you're like, no, that's these people are cool. That's I want to do that, and they motivate you. You motivate us. It's just you need those kind of things in your life. And
yeah.
again, it doesn't matter. Um, I mean, bless their hearts. I looked at the girls. I put on my snazzy summer wear.
Oh yeah, look
It's
great.
a little Hawaiian shirt, Santa
Hmm.
Hawaiian shirt. So I'm like, dude, there's no way I can go like hot. Like, it's hot down
Yeah.
here, but but I can rock a Hawaiian shirt.
Oh
So
yeah.
anyway, I popped on my shirt and I'm coming out, and the girls see me, and I'm like, "How do I look, ladies?" And they're like, "Oh, you look great, Dad." And they were like, and then this is the best part. And they were like, "Oh, but I like you better, just good old you." And I'm like,
Oh
"Oh,
man.
thanks, girls."
Oh man, that's
So how
fantastic.
can I not be happy and come on
Yeah.
here and talk about good stuff?
Yeah.
Because
Oh
yeah,
yeah. Well, I was thinking about that. I'll let anybody on into how I think a little bit here. I was thinking, you was talking, and that it reminded me of the story of the lady I used to deliver to and stuff. But at the same time, I was thinking about how we're all Santa Claus, and it may remind me of The Walking Dead, and then everybody would say, "I am Negan." And I was like, "I am Santa Claus," So it's like,
well, you asked earlier what was the nugget for
uh,
Santa Dad. It's all of this.
yeah,
That's exactly what it is. I'm
yeah,
like, I am Santa is real.
uh huh,
I am Santa,
yep,
even if in just my world,
yeah,
right? That's why the blog or any of the other stuff
yeah,
is a bit of a leap of faith, because people look at you and be like, man, what are you?
yeah,
But I really don't care. But
yeah,
because it's I am that guy. That
mhm,
it maybe I don't know. It's so weird because of the way social media and everything is these
yep,
days. Uh, the very positive side of it, I think you can look at and say, you know what, I can live my very best life as this person,
yeah,
and it may not be all of who I am,
mhm,
but it is a part of who I am. And if that's what those tools are made for, then I decided to go all in and be like, in this silo, I am all about Christmas, and I'm all
yeah,
about doing these things, and that it is all real.
yeah,
So whatever you see, it is real, because like you said, it takes time, commitment, to do any of this stuff.
yeah.
And I have just decided that, this is part of who I am, and that's I'm loving this part of who I am.
Oh
It makes
yeah,
me happy.
oh
So
yeah.
and
I
if you like the darker stuff, look at the other web pages. But this right here, this is the smiling guy with the sun on his face. That's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We can't have this much light and joy if we don't get rid of that dark stuff on the other webpage.
that's right. That is exactly right. I figure I acknowledge it over there, and
Yeah,
then I'll come over here and play a little bit. So
yeah, that's funny. Oh, that's great. Well, Randy, I could talk with you for hours, but I think we might need to save it for another episode. I hope you would come back here to Christmas Clatter and join us in some of our Christmas silliness we'll be having going on from now till Christmas and beyond. So, Let everybody know where they can find Santa Dad at.
Absolutely. The best place to go is that wonderful website. Pretty simple. You see it, which side I'm on, you see it right here. It's
Yep.
just Santa Dad. So you just type in santadad.com, you'll land on the website, you'll find all the goodies. And if you're interested in my more silly and creative side, you can see Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And there's different elements across those platforms, right? So if you don't want to see my old mug, that's fine. Some of them you'll see more of my kids, and some of them you might see some of beautiful Bethlehem, Georgia, or I happen to grow up in Toccoa, Georgia. Toccoa means the beautiful. This lovely scene that you see behind me here was actually shot in Toccoa this past December. So there's lots of stuff. If you're ever in the area and neighborhood, consider this your tourism advisory. Toccoa, hit that for the falls, swing through Bethlehem, get your postcard stamped, and you'll be world famous. It'll be good. But really anything you want, you could probably find it across my socials, because I really am having a lot of fun over there right now.
Oh yeah.
Everything again, I'm 45 and on TikTok. That's not a problem. Cool. Because I'm just having a lot of fun using, Santa Cam and just all that kind of stuff.
Oh
So,
yeah.
uh,
I've been
join me.
considering the TikTok myself, so I might be hopping over there with you before long. So
Yeah, well,
yeah,
join us. It's a happy place.
yeah,
Again, 2020 was a year that, in for varying ways, it put stressors on people.
yep,
Uh, but through it all, TikTok was a fun diversion.
yep,
And so get over there and have a good time. There's a Christmas community over there. Maybe we'll create a cool hashtag and find each other,
yep.
and it'll be fun.
Yep, that'd be great. And for anybody walking, driving, or unable to jot down those addresses, all his links will be in the show notes in the description. So you'll just be a tap away. And Randy, Santa Dad, thanks for joining me here on Christmas Clatter.
Oh, pleasure. I can't wait to come back.
Oh, yeah, well, you'll be back sooner than you think. And remember, here at Christmas Clatter, keep Christmas hope alive every day.